What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of Health Unscripted with Dr. Dwyer. I am Dr. Ashley Dwyer, here for another week of awesomeness. This week, we're going to be talking about all things metabolism. So I know that sounds super sexy, so hold on to your pants. It's going to be a fun episode. We are going to talk about metabolism because it is the one thing that is not talked about enough when we're growing up, when we're learning about nutrition and science, and it really needs to be, uncovered and let out so that we all know why, I freak out so much when we hear diets and crash diets and all of that. So first of all, what is metabolism? Like, our metabolism is obviously the energy source to our body. It controls our BMR. It controls how much we're burning at rest. It controls our hormones. All of these things are super important when it comes to our health and our body. It is, not static. So the metabolism is always changing. It is always perceiving our stresses, what we're putting into our body. It is our energy regulator, and it does an awesome job at doing that. So when we screw with the amount of energy that we put our body through or put into our body, it is very sensitive to adapting to that. So what does that look like when we come to diets, right? So this is why I'm actually talking about this, is because calorie restriction is so popular forever. I think it's been a popular fad forever. But why is it so bad then that we restrict calories or that we're not eating enough? And why, most of my clients have to go on reverse diets as soon as they start working with me, which means more food, because they've been in such a calorie deficit for so long. So what does your body go through when you're in deficits for so long? So first of all, what happens to your body, and the term for it, for metabolic adaptation, is really adaptive thermogenesis. So it's, not the same for everyone. It is different depending on health conditions or, how long you've been in a diet phase, things like that. And then the degree to which you experience these adaptations, like I just said, will be consistent with how long you've been in a diet, how long, you've been overstressing your body, what your environment looks like now, etc. So what happens during metabolic adaptation? So let's say, for example, we're going to use myself. My total daily energy expenditure, so what I burn throughout the day while, doing my thing with exercise, with eating, whatever, is around 2,000 to 2,200 calories per day. It is a range. It's not a static figure either, okay? So these parts of, TDEE are comprised of basal metabolic rate, which is your BMR, your resting metabolism, how much you burn at rest, your exercise activity thermogenesis, so how much you're burning while exercising, the thermic effect of food, which is how much your body is burning based on the amount of food that you're eating. We do burn calories while digesting food. And then non-exercise activity thermogenesis, which is also called NEAT. You'll hear me refer to it as NEAT, which is how many steps you're doing, fidgeting, how much you move around throughout the day, basically activity outside of exercise. So these numbers are super important because these are what are affected when we decrease and when we're in calorie deficits. So you take that TDEE, which I just said, 2,000 to 2,200 is mine per se. And then let's say that I was in a deficit and I didn't know any better, and MyFitnessPal told me to eat 1,200 calories a day. So here I am eating generally 1,000 calories less than my deficit. And I'm not feeling like I want to be a math whiz right now. So I'm literally taking out my calendar to tell myself that this is a 55% calorie deficit that I'm in. You don't want to go over 20% when you're in a deficit because it's just a massive crash diet. Okay, so what happens when I start eating 1,200 calories for, couple weeks, couple months, maybe it's a year, I'm able to get away with this. So what ends up happening is our body then is very adaptable. Like we said, our metabolism will, respond to these changes. And then it's oh, hold on. Okay, so we're not getting this much food in. So now we need to decrease our BMR because, our metabolic resting rate downregulates when we're trying to save as many calories for fuel as we can. So our body is not concerned with aesthetic. Our body is concerned with functioning at its highest power if it can. So when we are not feeding it as efficiently or feeding it as much, it downregulates the amount of calories that it expends every single day. Then you're also going to get a decrease in that EAT, that exercise activity thermogenesis, because you're also going to be losing weight on this crash diet. For a time, it does plateau. And this is where we'll talk about the plateau of the metabolism. And that's usually when you start, having this metabolic adaptation. It's going to decrease the thermic effect of food because you're going to be eating less, obviously. So that's going to go down. And you're going to decrease your NEAT, whether you notice it or not. If you are not eating enough calories for energy, you will not fidget as much. You will probably not go on as many walks as you were before because you'll be tired. So your body will want to reserve as much energy as it can. And so all of these are downregulated. This is bad because after a while, your BMR will essentially bottom out and become super, super low, which means if you eat above that 1,200 calories or, even go above eating a little more in the future, you will then gain weight. So, it needs to be said that your metabolism is super powerful, and this is why we need to incorporate diet breaks. So what else happens during metabolic adaptation? You also go through hormonal adaptations, and this is where we come out and we talk about thyroid issues, sex hormone issues, things like that, because what happens is your T3 and T4 are downregulated because that regulates your metabolism. Our thyroid regulates our metabolism. So your thyroid hormones go down, your testosterone goes down, your sex hormones go down, insulin sensitivity goes down. So that's where you may notice you are, having more sensitive, I can't speak. Your insulin sensitivity goes down. So this is where you may notice that you are having a hard time with carbs. Your leptin hormone goes down, which is the satiety hormone. It tells you that you're full. Your ghrelin hormone, which tells you that you're hungry, actually shoots up. And your cortisol also shoots up, which is the stress hormone that can cause water retention. It can cause weight gain around the midsection. A lot of not good things. So obviously we don't want any of that to happen. So how do you stop your body from going through these changes? And that is what we call diet breaks or reverse dieting or refeed days, things like that. So we don't want our metabolism to adapt. We don't want to undereat. So instead, I would then come up to a healthy calorie deficit within 20% of my TDEE, which would be around 1,700 calories, maybe a little more. I'd still only eat that for 12 weeks to do a cut. And then I would go back up to maintenance so that my body could essentially heal, recover. I would, get my BMR back up to that high state so that we can go ahead and do it again in the future. You're not supposed to diet forever. You can stay at maintenance for as long as you want. If done correctly, reverse dieting actually won't have you gain weight. You should only really gain 2 to 4 pounds. I'll talk on another episode about what is reverse dieting and how to do it correctly. But it's essential to go in and out of these build phases, these diet phases, and to take a break so that we can normalize our hormones and then, jump back into a cut in another 3 months if we want to, 3 to 6 months, depending on your body. So back in the day when I was constantly training for my shows, I was in a diet for probably 4 years before my hormones were just nope, we're done. We've done this for 4 years. You're exercising too much. Your stress is too much. It is time to, my metabolism was shot. I think I went in and did one of those breathing tests that determines your BMR, and my BMR was 1,300. And I was like, this is awful. So after healing for a little while, I went back for a year and it was, 14 something. I was like, okay, we're getting better. So now I have no idea what it is because I haven't done the test in 2 years. I'd be very interested to see what it is, but you want to take these breaks, and that is what this episode is about how smart our metabolism is, what happens when we diet for too long and when we restrict calories for too long, and then how to get out of that by taking these breaks. So I hope you guys found this episode helpful. I'm always interested in looking for other topics to discuss with you guys, so please leave comments, share, shoot me a DM on Instagram at Dr. Dwyer. I am loving doing these episodes every single week, and thank you for joining me for another one. I'll see you guys next Thursday. Happy weekend.